Hey, welcome back to the channel. If you're tired of hearing the same old stocks and bonds advice, you're in the right place. Today, we're going to dive into something a little more interesting: alternative assets. And no, I'm not just talking about the usual real estate or gold. We're talking about art, wine, collectibles, and some other cool stuff that you probably didn't even know you could invest in. So, grab a drink, get comfy, and let's explore how you can put your money into things that aren't just numbers on a screen. Alright, so what do we mean by alternative assets? Well, these are basically investments that don't fall under the usual categories of stocks, bonds, or cash. Instead of just throwing all your money into the stock market, you might buy something like a rare painting, a fine bottle of wine, or even a classic car. These types of assets can appreciate over time and potentially bring in some pretty sweet returns. Now, don't get me wrong, stocks and bonds are tried and true, but sometimes mixing things up a bit can be a smart move. Plus, investing in something like art or wine doesn't just help your portfolio, it might even make you the owner of a super cool conversation starter. Who doesn't want to say they own a piece of famous art, right? But here's the thing, just like with stocks, these alternative assets come with their own risks, and not every investment is a surefire win. That's why it's super important to do your homework before jumping in. So, let's break down some of the most popular alternative assets that you can invest in, starting with art. You probably think of art as something you hang on your wall to make your house look nice, but it's actually a serious investment. Think about the works of Picasso or Van Gogh, they're not just paintings, they're multi-million-dollar investments. Now, I know what you're thinking, I'm not a billionaire, I can't afford a Picasso. And you're right, you probably can't. But here's the thing, there are platforms now where you can invest in shares of high-value artwork without needing millions. Platforms like Masterworks let you buy shares in famous paintings, so you can own a piece of something valuable without the hefty price tag. If the painting increases in value, you get a return based on your share. But investing in art isn't a get-rich-quick thing. You're looking at the long haul here, so if you're new to art investing, maybe start small, learn about the artists, and use platforms that let you dip your toes in. This is definitely a niche market, so knowing what's trending and what's likely to appreciate over time is key. Now, before you go jumping into the art market, let's talk about one of the more exciting alternative investments that has been catching fire recently: wine. Now, I know you might be thinking, wine? Really? But hear me out, wine investing has become a huge deal in the past few years. And we're not talking about the bottle of Merlot you pick up for dinner at your local store. We're talking about fine wines from regions like Bordeaux, Burgundy, or Napa Valley, the kind of wine that gets better with age and can increase in value over time. Wine has actually outperformed stocks in terms of returns over the past few decades. Some bottles, especially rare vintages, can see returns of over 200%. But, just like with art, it's not something you're going to sell tomorrow. Wine investment is a long-term play. You can buy bottles directly from top producers and store them as they age, or you can invest in wine through platforms that let you buy shares in a wine portfolio. These platforms handle the storage, insurance, and selling when the time is right, which makes it easier for you. But not all wine is created equal. Certain vintages and regions will appreciate more than others, so you need to know what you're looking for. If you're new to wine investment, it might be a good idea to team up with an expert or use a reputable platform to guide you. If you're a fan of wine, though, this could be a fun and profitable way to turn your hobby into an investment. Plus, let's be real, there's something cool about the idea of owning a bottle that will be worth way more in the future. Now, let's talk about some more unusual alternative assets, like classic cars, luxury watches, and even sneakers. Yes, sneakers. Believe it or not, rare sneakers can be a serious investment. Brands like Nike and Adidas release limited edition shoes that can skyrocket in value. Some sneakers have been sold for tens of thousands of dollars, even though they were originally priced at just a few $100. Pretty wild, right? But it's not just sneakers. Classic cars are another alternative asset that has been gaining popularity. Brands like Ferrari, Porsche, and Lamborghini are known for producing cars that can actually appreciate in value over time. If you buy a rare car, store it properly, and keep it in mint condition, it could be worth way more years down the road. The same goes for luxury watches. Rolex, Patek Philippe, and Audemars Piguet make timepieces that have increased in value over time. Some rare watches have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and their value only grows as they become more sought after. If you're into high-end collectibles like this, you can turn your passion into an investment. But just like with art or wine, there are risks involved. You need to know the market, and you need to store and maintain these items properly. It's not the type of thing you just buy and forget about. But if you've got an eye for these types of investments and you're willing to do the research, this could be a fun and profitable way to diversify your portfolio. Okay, now that we've talked about some of the most popular alternative assets, let's discuss the pros and cons of this kind of investing. Should you dive into it, or is it better to stick with traditional assets? The truth is, it really depends on your risk tolerance and your goals. On the plus side, alternative investments can provide excellent diversification. When the stock market takes a dip, your investments in things like art, wine, or luxury cars might not be as affected. They also have the potential for high returns, especially if you've done your research and are investing in items that are rare or have historical value. And let's not forget, the whole fun factor. You could be the proud owner of a piece of famous art or a vintage car that only gets more valuable with time. But there are also downsides. For one, these assets can be illiquid, meaning it can take a while to sell them if you need cash fast. You also have to know what you're doing. The world of alternative assets is niche, and if you don't understand the market, you could end up making a bad investment. And let's not forget the costs involved. Storing art, wine, or cars in perfect condition comes with its own price tag. You'll also want to make sure everything is properly insured, which adds to the expense. And even though some of these assets have shown strong returns in the past, there's no guarantee they'll continue to do so in the future. The market for rare items can fluctuate, and trends can change pretty quickly. So, if you're thinking about diving into alternative investments, make sure you're in it for the long haul. So, should you dive into alternative assets? Well, it depends. These types of investments can be a great way to diversify and maybe even see some awesome returns, but they're not for everyone. Alternative assets come with a lot more complexity than just buying stocks or bonds. You need to do your research, understand the market, and be prepared to hold on to your investments for the long term. But if you're looking for something different, something that could potentially grow in value while also adding a little extra flavor to your life, alternative investments might be worth considering. And honestly, it's kind of cool to think outside the box. You don't have to just play by the traditional investment rules. Sometimes mixing it up with art, wine, or collectibles can add some serious diversity to your portfolio. So, what do you think? Have you ever thought about investing in something unusual, like rare wine, art, or classic cars? Drop a comment below and let me know if any of these alternative assets caught your eye. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.